So taxes are a much bigger threat to your retirement than a lot of people realize, and a lot of people don't understand that retirement, in our view, represents one of the times in your life where you actually have the most control over how much you pay in taxes and when you pay taxes. And there's a lot of things that you can do, believe it or not, in retirement to keep a lot more of your money working for you and your family and in your pocket. So it's a pretty complex issue and topic, one that's sort of a hot topic a lot of people don't want to talk about, but that's what we're going to talk about today, is how do you navigate some of the really complex strategies that are associated with keeping more of your money in your pocket and paying less in taxes.
That's right, John. And the big differentiator for today is we're going to talk about tax planning, not tax preparation. So if you're looking to CPAs to give you tax planning advice and that's happening after the tax year's already over, you've already missed the boat. So what we're going to talk about today is how can you plan today for current taxes, but also more importantly, the future taxes on our investments, on our retirement income, trying to keep as much as we can so you get to enjoy more of that. So number one, we have to start with consider how taxes might rise in the future. So saving money for retirement is really only half of the battle. We have to account for how much the money that we save is actually going to be taxed. So sometimes, John, I'll use the example of, you think about the stock market and how it can go up and down. And when the market goes down, 15 or 20%, that can feel like a big hit that you take on your investments. And a lot of people, when the market's down 15 or 20%, they don't have a good plan. A lot of times they'll begin to panic and start trying to be reactive to what's happening in the market. Well, in retirement, if you're in an average effective rate of, say, 15% or 20%, which a lot of people are, every time you touch a retirement dollar, you lose 15 or 20%. It's like the stock market's hitting you with a market decline every single time you touch that dollar. So we have to be able to consider what could potentially happen to taxes. Right now, taxes look pretty good in our country. The likelihood of them going up, I think, is a real issue that we have to consider. If you go back to just 1982 to 1986, the income tax rates reached upwards of 50%, which would be considerable for a lot of people. And then if you think all the way back to World War, after that, tax rates hit as high as 94%.
Yeah, that's a great deal. You work and the government takes 94 cents of every dollar you make and you get to keep 6 cents. That sounds like a great deal. And the fact is, taxes today, and a lot of people don't understand this, are really historically cheap. If you go back to 1930, we actually have a graph in our office where we talk about the top marginal brackets back to 1930. And if you look at that graph, taxes today are really cheap. But and it's a big issue because in 2025 the current tax codes are set to expire. And when you look at the math, numbers don't lie. Our national debt just crossed $34 trillion. I mean, I think sometimes we don't really understand how big that number is. Now, opinions vary. Our opinion, very strong opinion, is it's not just the top 5% they're going to pay that $34 trillion debt. We believe taxes are going to go up across the board. And so there's never been a more important time. In fact, we believe one of the most strategic things you can do with your finances is effective tax planning going forward. Because, Dan, I love that example about the market downturn. If the S&P goes down 20%, it definitely is not comfortable. But we believe in the markets and the economy, and eventually that's going to recover and you're going to make money. You lose 20% in taxes, you're never getting that back.
Permanent loss.
It's a permanent loss baked in. And so planning for how you're going to keep more money in your pocket and working for you and your family and save money in taxes. It's not like a $50 parking ticket. The numbers really start to add up. But it's like anything else. It takes time. It takes strategy. But there's so many rules that are right now on the tax codes that people don't take advantage of that you can use that are very advantageous to your family. But the key is planning.
And likely to go away. A lot of these opportunities are likely to be diminished or actually go away because of where the national debt is. So let's look at a quick example here. May hit a little closer to home as we talk about the debt and why we may see taxes going up. So Lady's name is Nancy, brings home $3,300 a month. Her expenses are actually $4,000. She has $17,000 in credit card debt and only makes the minimum payments on the interest. And so Nancy's spending around $700 more than what she earns. She has a deficit, kind of like our country here today. Because she needs to continue to keep putting more on that credit card, her debt continues to grow. Thankfully, the bank allows the credit limit to increase since she's never missed a payment. But how long can she keep up with working for more interest being added without being able to cover any of that debt or even reducing the debt over time? So just like Nancy, if our government reaches the debt ceiling, it's no longer going to be able to borrow money to meet its obligations. What that can mean for you is a hit to the credit rating for the U.S. government. Right now, we're considered the strongest government, strongest currency out there. We did see last year, we took a little hit on that rating. Still considered an A-rated investment, but we're seeing that go down. If we actually missed a payment or defaulted on our debt, that would be absolutely catastrophic for every single American. It would be catastrophic for basically every single country in the world because of how much of a consumer we are for all of the products out there. So one, we have to keep a better eye on what we're spending. We need a budget. We need to actually keep within that budget. Right now, we just keep kicking the can. We keep raising the debt ceiling, allowing more money to be printed, and allow that debt to continue to go up. That's why, in our opinion, I think every American out there should brace for potential higher taxes. And is it going to happen tomorrow? No, we're not saying that. But I think in the next 2 to 5 years, we're definitely going to see tax rates go up. And I think on every American here in the United States.
Yeah, there's a couple things with that too. There's also a massive demographic shift. You've got the boomers that are almost 70 million strong that are retiring somewhere around 10,000 a day in America. And they're going on to Social Security and Medicare. And, you know, it's interesting, people talk about the sustainability of Social Security and Medicare. I think it's going to be there. But if you look, if you go to socialsecurity.gov and you pull your actual Social Security statement on the third or fourth page, it actually says that Social Security can only pay, I think it's like 70 cents on the dollar or something like 2035. So we know there's going to have to be changes. You're exactly right. Politically, on both sides of the aisle, they just keep punting the ball down the field. But you shouldn't do that as a consumer. This is where you can take control of your personal finances and do something about it today versus continuing to kick the can down the road. And if you ignore it, much like the politicians, that's kind of what you're doing. You're just kicking the can down the road and you're ignoring what really is simple math. So how do you do that? Well, one of the best things you can do is you can choose to work with an advisor or an advisory firm that's a fiduciary. Beacon Capital, we're fiduciaries. And what that means is that we have to act in your best interest. And one of the ways that we do that as a firm when we sit down with people is we offer a free tax reduction analysis. And what we can do, for example, is we can look at all of your deferred money, 401k, IRA, et cetera, and we can actually put it into some software that's developed by an actuary. Actuaries are pretty smart math folks, and so it's backed up with data. And we can side by side, for example, and this is just one of many things we can do, show you if you do nothing with your deferred money besides just take out your required minimum distribution and you live to the average age of 90, you might die before that, you might live to many years after that, what the tax burden is going to look like for your family. And then right next to that, if you do tax planning, how much money you can potentially save. And I would say, Dan, that's one of the most eye-opening analysis that we do for people. And I would also add to that we're not against IRAs and 401ks. They're great ways to save. But people do not understand, you know, like the sort of the goal still for a lot of Americans, if you look at surveys, is I want to save $1 million. So if somebody comes into our office and they have $1 million 401k or $1 million IRA, we're like, congratulations, you got $1 million IRA. That's the good news. But the bad news that comes along with that is that money's not all yours. Right? If you're in a 20% income tax bracket, then you only have about $800,000. You owe a debt, and that's what taxes are, is a debt of 20%. And so understanding what that debt is, which will be paid, The government's not going anywhere. And what you can do to legally, morally, and ethically reduce that and keep more money in your family's pocket is a huge advantage if you take advantage of it.
Yeah, and that kind of takes us into our next point. But before we go into that real quick, John, kind of piggybacking on the fiduciary concept, that's a word that gets tossed around a lot today. It's someone who has to act in your best interest. That's pretty vague, actually, in my opinion. I think it goes a little further than that. We are fiduciaries, but most of our advisors here, including myself, are certified financial planners, which actually means that we're educated in not just investments, but also tax planning, estate planning, insurance planning, right, with Medicare, things of that nature. So a lot of the advisors here, in fact, the majority of the ones here are all certified financial planners. The ones that aren't we still teach them all of those things and just need to go through the coursework. But to me, a fiduciary needs to be acting in your best interest in all of those aspects. When you get to retirement, your investments and your tax plan and your insurance plan and your estate plan all work together, and you need all of those things really being looked at and managed by one party. If you're going to be the intermediator trying to coordinate all these different experts out there that don't work at the same firm, it's not going to work very well. You're not going to have the synergy that you need. That's why here at Beacon, we have all of those things really under one roof, where you can have an investment plan, retirement plan, tax plan, estate plan, insurance plan, all being done by experts in those fields, all under one roof, which is really what has set us apart from a lot of the other financial firms in Middle Tennessee and even across the United States. So looking at this IRA concept, John, really have to decide what you were talking about. Do you want to be taxed now, or do you want to be taxed later? So many of us, and for a lot of you out there, if you're getting close to the retirement age, all you really had as an investment option was a pre-tax retirement plan, a 401k, where you had to put money in and you deferred the taxes on that. A lot of CPAs call it tax savings. I think that's a lie. I don't think you're saving money in taxes. You're actually deferring taxes. That's what it's called. It's a tax deferred account. So when CPAs sit with you and say, put $5,000 in an IRA, it's going to save you $2,000 in taxes. It doesn't. It defers you $2,000 in taxes. You are going to pay that money to the government. In fact, you'll probably pay more because the tax you deferred has grown. It's that debt, right? The debt continues to grow. So I think one of the best things every American out there, regardless of age, if you have any money saved up in a pre-tax account, really needs to do a Roth conversion analysis. You hear that a lot out there today. Is a Roth conversion the right thing for you or your family? Or should you be contributing all of your 401k retirement money now to the Roth 401k, which almost every retirement plan has available to them? Nice thing about that, no income restrictions like a traditional Roth IRA. One of the most valuable things that we provide to people, and you were kind of alluding to this, John, is having a Roth conversion analysis done to really see if you do nothing with your investments from tax planning perspective. We can show you what you're estimated to pay in taxes cumulatively over your lifetime. And then run an analysis to show you, if you look at converting some of the money today, how much money will you pay cumulatively over your retirement? Typically, those savings are to the tune of over 6 figures, sometimes even greater than that, right? So again, with all of the risk that's out there in the market today, threat of taxes going up, we want to maximize every single dollar that you have and really trying to lean towards paying our taxes now, pay our debt now, strategically with a good, thoughtful plan. To never have to pay taxes on some of that money again, I think is going to be huge for every single American out there.
Yeah, one thing that I would say that a lot of people come into our office and say, well, I deferred money in taxes in a 401k and IRA. And again, we're not saying you shouldn't have an IRA or 401k. And the belief is that when they retire, their income tax bracket is going to go down, right? That happens in some cases, but a lot of cases, their income tax bracket remains the same. And that's at today's brackets. Again, remember, we think the brackets are going to be going up. And if you think about it from this perspective, people like you work really hard, 30, 40 years of your life. You put kids through college and raise a family, and you delay gratification so you can get to this retirement age and enjoy life. So you probably didn't make all those decisions and save money and delay gratification and think about the future to get to this stage of your life and reduce your income, right? And so a lot of times people's income tax bracket remains the same. And then if you think about tax brackets potentially going up, they could actually increase. So what you really want to do is you want to be prepared for the future. You want to plan. In 2013, Congress raised taxes and broadened the tax base with respect to a number of taxes when it enacted the American Taxpayer Relief Act, which really impacted a lot of people.
Well, it did. And, really you have to choose a side. Unfortunately, in this conversation, you either have to choose a side that you think that taxes are going to stay right where they're at today or go down, which we would all be in favor of here. I'd love for my taxes to be able to go down, pay less to the government each and every year. So we choose that as our side. Or you have to decide, do you think that taxes are likely to increase over the next 5 to 10 years? If you think taxes are going to stay the same or go down, you may not want to do any kind of planning because you're going to save more money in the future because you believe the government is going to control their spending and the national debt's going to go down or something like that, right? I hope it does. I'd rather be a proactive planner, a more realistic planner, I think, to think that taxes are likely to stay the same or actually go up over time, which means we need to have a thoughtful, forward-looking tax plan to try to minimize and mitigate the impact of taxes over our retirement, increasing what you're able to spend. We would love to help you find confidence and clarity in your retirement plan as it relates to taxes, investments, income, all the things we mentioned. Call us for a free consultation or a second opinion on your current financial plan. That's all it is. It's just a second opinion. There's no cost to you to come and meet with us. The phone number is 615-488-3039, or you can go to our website at beaconcm.com. Well, thanks for watching Retirement Talk. Subscribe to the channel below to get more episodes just like this.